Are you tired of being surrounded by nasty grime and gross smells? Me too. Of course, I'm talking about your truck's disgusting interior. You've left it long enough, and now it's time to quit being a slob and clean it up already. Because those gym socks in the back with the mold on them are not going to get better on their own. One of the biggest reasons that people lose interest in their vehicles is because they've neglected their interior, and they let it go for too long, and it's just not a very nice place to be anymore. Detailing your interior can seem like a pretty daunting task, so I'm actually going to break it down into simple steps for you in this video so that you can get results like this on your truck yourself. Now, I haven't even vacuumed either of these two trucks pretty much all summer long, and so since I've been neglecting them, it's time to pay the piper. I am going to be using a carpet extractor and a steam cleaner on some stuff. Now, these things aren't required to get your truck cleaned up. Realistically, you can use 3 or 4 products, and that's all you need, as long as you stay on top of it. These tools just kind of make quicker work of getting rid of the stubborn dirt and grime, and to be honest, I would like to have some time to enjoy a coffee on my deck at some point today. So we're kicking it off with step 1, and that is to declutter your entire vehicle. It's time to get rid of all the crap that you've accumulated. Go through all of the storage compartments, the glove box, the center console, get underneath the seats, the storage boxes in the doors. Just throw everything out there, whether it's going to be staying in your vehicle or it's garbage and you need to get rid of it. Either way, take it out, and then you can always decide what stays and what goes afterwards. You'd be surprised at how much of a difference you can make just by getting rid of all the loose garbage out of your vehicle without even doing any actual detailing yet. Onto the floor mats, and these rubber ones that I have in the 4Runner are just as simple as spraying them down, scrubbing them with a rubber and tire cleaner, and then rinsing them off. Now these fabric ones in the Tacoma, however, I kind of use these as an example and a test to see what my new carpet extractor is really capable of, because many people would consider these too far gone. These are really greasy and they've just got a lot of black stains on a somewhat light colored gray fabric. And so with this, I'm scrubbing them with Griot's Garage Interior Cleaner, and that's a different cleaner than I'm using for the rest of the truck because this doesn't leave behind anything else. It's not like a one-step cleaner and conditioner or protectant or something. This is just a cleaner. And so that's what I want to use on the floor mats and also on the carpets. And look at the nasty water that I was able to pull out of just the floor mats on this truck. That's gross. My strategy for keeping my headliner clean is to basically just tell people that are in my truck, if you touch the headliner, I'll kill you. Because I don't want to have to clean it. It's kind of a pain to get stains out of. And also you don't want to get it too wet when you're trying to scrub it. You run the risk of loosening up the glue and the adhesive in it, and then you have your headliner falling down. In the event that I do have a stain or a smudge or something like that, I'll just take a little detailing brush like this and I'll spray my cleaner onto the brush and I'll just kind of tickle it and just very lightly scrub it that way. But for the most part, I don't want to touch my headliner. I just kind of leave it alone. The best way to keep your headliner clean is just to not touch it at all. This next step is a bit of an optional one for you. I use compressed air to blow out as much of the loose dirt and stuff as I possibly can before I start vacuuming or cleaning or anything, because anything that's loose, you can just open up all the doors and just blow everything out, get it out of the vehicle right off the bat. This is good for like the dust inside of your vents on your dash and stuff like that. You can see me here in the pockets of the doors blowing out all the loose stuff that's kind of hard to reach. After that, I'm going to jump right to the vacuuming and the dusting. And I like to start from the back and work my way forward. And make sure you remember to move your seats forward too, because you'd be amazed at what is hiding underneath them. There's always a French fry. But you can't get at it really that well unless you move the seats out of the way. So move them forwards, do all the back seat, and then push them all the way back and do the front seat, if that makes sense. You'll see that I'm also vacuuming the seats, even though these ones are leather, and I'm pulling the seat cushion apart in order to get at the seam. And there's a lot of crumbs and dirt and stuff that will gather in there. And you won't be able to get at that unless you kind of spread the seam apart a little bit. I'm also using a dry detailing brush here to break loose any dirt that's in the vents or the gaps of different panels and stuff. And I'm sucking it up with the vacuum at the same time. This can be helpful for when you actually go ahead and are wetting the surface with a cleaner. Anything that's like dirt or dust, when it gets wet, just like anything else, it's going to turn to mud, and it makes it even harder to clean up and to remove. So I find getting rid of it when it's dry is the easiest way possible if you can. So I always do this extra step first. Then for the gauge cluster, this plastic is really easy to scratch, so I actually replace my interior detailing brush with a makeup brush, like a super soft one. And then I'm continuing to also suck up all the loose dirt that once I break it free with the brush with my vacuum. Now moving on to the seats, and we're starting with the Tacoma's cloth seats here. I'm once again using Griot's Garage interior cleaner on these, and I'm scrubbing them by hand with a brush. You know, there's a lot of people that use the drill brush attachments, and if you're not a professional, you don't really need that. That's more for the guys that are doing it day in and day out and they're trying to save their joints and stuff. But if you're just a hobbyist that's working on your own vehicles, you can just do it by hand like how I'm doing it here. So I'm scrubbing the cleaner in, and then I'm using just straight water in my carpet extractor to basically it's squirting fresh water in and sucking the dirty water out at the same time. That's the beauty of a carpet extractor here. And this is the same process that I'm using on the carpets as well, by the way. I don't think I got it on camera, but same concept. Look at the dirty water that came out. That's just from the front two seats on this truck. So they didn't look that dirty, but that's what was hiding within that fabric. Now, if you've got leather seats in your truck, don't worry, I got you. We're gonna switch back to the 4Runner here. For this, I'm using lithium slather, and this is their dedicated leather cleaner. And then I'm also using a nice soft boar's hair brush to agitate it. Now, you can see I'm getting the seats fairly wet. I'm spraying a decent amount of product on them. And one mistake that I think people make is they just spray it on and wipe it off. But that's not really actually gonna clean much. The whole idea here is you wanna build up enough suds, enough of a lather going that's gonna actually pull the dirt and the grime up into the bubbles, into the suds. And then you can wipe those suds off. So you really need to spend some time scrubbing and agitating this to really pull that off of the seat so that then you can wipe it into your microfiber towel when you're drying it off. Now I didn't get it on camera, but I am not a real fan of like traditional leather conditioners. On my 4Runner seats, I like to use G-Technic L1 leather guard, and because your leather actually has a clear coat essentially on it, it's designed to protect the clear coat. There's no fake gimmick claims talking about like hydrating the hide of the leather or anything like that. This is intended to protect the clear coat on uncoated leather. Next up, we're gonna focus on our touch points, and those are gonna be your steering wheel, your gear shift, your center console lid, your armrests, all the things that your body touches. These are arguably gonna be the most dirty parts of your interior because this is what comes into contact with your body. All the rest of like the dash plastics and stuff, realistically, they just get dust on them, right? Nothing's really touching them. But these things your body's touching, you're gonna have body oils, lotion, sunscreen, stuff like that, that all builds up on there over time. Unlike the outside of your car, the best way to know if this is dirty and needs to be cleaned is if it's shiny. Because these surfaces actually have a matte finish on almost every vehicle. And if they start to look shiny, that's because of one of two reasons. Either it's just dirty with oils and grease built up on them, or you've used some kind of like old school Armor All product or something and you're purposely making it shiny, which don't do that, guys, that's gross. So for this process, I'm switching to an interior cleaner from the detail firm. It's called Interior Lather. And again, I'm just scrubbing and agitating it with an interior detailing brush. Same concept as cleaning my leather seats actually, just on all of these touch points. The steering wheel is probably one of the most important things to clean in your interior because that's probably what you touch the most. And this is one of those things that you don't realize that's actually dirty until you clean it and you notice the difference afterwards and you go, wow, it was not supposed to be that slippery and shiny. And remember folks, it's not interior detailing if you don't accidentally bump the horn button and make yourself pee a little bit. So now moving on to the gear shift, this is another one. Same kind of material, this is like a kind of a fake leather, just like the steering wheel. Same concept, just scrub it, get the suds going and pull all those greases and oils up into those suds. Next up, the center console lid. This is, on the 4Runners, it's also kind of like a leather surface. And I don't know about you, but I lean on this all the time, especially like in the summertime when you're wearing a t-shirt, it's just your bare arm on there. And it's gonna collect a lot of sweat, just a lot of nastiness. And so that I would clean this the exact same way as everything else. Now you got two arms, don't you? I'm willing to bet most of the people watching this video do. So your other armrest on the door is also a touch point. Now for me, I typically just clean the whole door panel as a whole. So I just start from the top, again, spray it on. I'm not super worried about getting any overspray on the window because I am going to be cleaning the windows last. And remember, it's important to get the order of the things that you're doing in a detail correct. You don't want to be working over yourself and having to re-clean things because of overspray and stuff. So take some time to kind of think it through and do things in the right order. Now, if you end up wiping say like the armrest here and you wipe as much of the product off as you can, but you still have some pooled up like in the in the crevice behind, like that joins the door and the armrest, and you can't get your towel in there to wipe it off, you have two choices. You can either just let it dry in there. If you're using a high quality product, it's probably not the end of the world. Or if you really do want to get that out, just grab your compressed air that you were using earlier and you can just spray it out with that. Now, when it comes to interior detailing, I find the name of the game is to touch every single surface, and you have to really think kind of outside of the box how you would normally touch these things. Like, you can see me really fiddling with the door handle and the door lock here, the different settings of the door lock, and really getting into all the different angles. That's the name of the game. You got to try and touch every single surface, and you have to look at your interior from different angles and not just from the driving position. You have to think of all the different things that you might be touching on a day-to-day basis and make sure you're getting in there and cleaning everything and not just the obvious stuff. So I just continue on with the same process, same product, and I just go over the entire interior at this point. Do the whole dashboard. Again, just take a good look at the interior as a whole. Make sure you're looking up. Don't forget about that. You have your rear view mirror, dome light area where there's plastic trim, the dome lights, the rear view mirror, all that kind of stuff. You have your window visors up top. You can flip those down. If they have mirrors in them, you might want to clean those with a glass cleaner. The idea is to be as thorough as possible with this stuff and kind of leave no stone unturned. And let me tell you, it's going to take you some time. This takes me quite a while to do this properly. It's okay to get your buttons and controls in the dash a little bit wet. I wouldn't necessarily spray the product directly on here. I like to spray it into the brush. You'll notice that I do that in quite a few shots in this video. I just feel a little bit better about putting it into the brush and then scrubbing it on. For the most part, you don't have to worry about your electronics and stuff. You're not going to damage a button by getting a little bit of cleaner past the seal, but it's just a good idea to try and keep everything as dry as possible while you're using enough cleaner in order to get it clean. Then in some areas, I'll just spray it directly on the panel that I'm cleaning. If I don't have too much concern about any buttons or stuff like that, I'll just scrub it down like that. Don't forget to get deep inside the gear shift. You might even want to put the key in, put your foot on the brake, and actually shift the shifter into the different settings, because you'd be surprised. There's a lot of dirt and stuff in the track when you're like all the way down in drive that you wouldn't be able to get at when you're in park. Don't forget to do inside your glove box, inside your center console, inside your cup holders, the pockets in your doors. There's, especially on these 4th Gen 4Runners, there's quite a few little storage compartments, and this is one of the reasons why we got all of the belongings that we've had in there this whole time, because it makes it easier to just clean up all these little storage compartments. Let me ask you this, when was the last time you cleaned your rear view mirror? Not a common one, that's for sure, but now's the time to do it. I also, on my way out, I'll clean up the plastic trim on the rocker panels. This is kind of a gray area. Some people do this stuff when they're doing an exterior detail. Some people include it in interior detailing. A lot of people do inside and outside at the same time when they're detailing their vehicles. So it's up to you if you do it with your interior or you want to do like pressure wash your door jambs when you're washing it on the outside. Either way, I think I'll probably make an exterior washing video coming up soon. We'll see how this one performs. If people like it, they find it helpful, I'll do a how to wash your truck video for you guys. And I've got a few not so common techniques when it comes to exterior washing. Now when it comes to navigation screens like this one, you have to be careful what kind of product you use on this for 2 reasons. Number one, you don't want a cleaner that's so strong that it can actually damage the touchscreen surface on this. And number two, you don't want a cleaner that's going to leave some kind of a residue behind, because then it can affect how well it responds to your touch. So I like to use, this is just Optimum No Rinse. It's a rinseless wash. This is like a quick detailer dilution, and it's not full strength or anything. I use this on all kinds of stuff. It doesn't leave any residue, but it's got plenty of cleaning power to be able to clean up your fingerprints and your oily greases and stuff like that. So I want to spray it on the towel, not on the actual screen. Just a light mist, and then we can just go ahead and wipe it down. Doesn't take much for this, and I'm going to flip to a nice dry side and buff it off to perfection. Just a little tip for you to keep your screens lasting as long as possible. And we're almost done now. It's time to clean up the mess that we made on our windows. I think the majority of people hate cleaning their windows, and it's understandable. It's so hard to get a streak-free finish, especially if they're really dirty. My technique is I'll use a high-quality glass cleaner. In this case, I'm using the Detail Firm's glass cleaner, and I'll use an initial microfiber towel to do like the heavier lifting or the cleaning. And then I'll follow up with a waffle knit towel that is either dry or damp with Optimum No Rinse or something that I know is not going to leave any streaks behind. A lot of people have trouble with reaching the windshield on the driver's side because the steering wheel and everything is in the way. My way of dealing with this is to sit on the passenger side and actually reach across. And I find that's the best way to be able to get at that point instead of trying to contort my arms in a way that they do not bend. And now for the final cherry on top, I like to use this leather scent spray from the Chemical Goofs. It's probably one of the only products they make that I actually enjoy. And if you really want to go the extra mile, you can turn your HVAC system on and make sure it's on recirculate, and it'll suck the spray up into the system so that you'll be able to smell it a little bit longer coming out the vents and stuff. This stuff doesn't last very long, but that helps a little bit. So that's how I detail the interior of my trucks, and hopefully you found this helpful. If you did, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. But now, you got a lot of work ahead of you, so you need to get off YouTube and get to work. See you on the next one, guys.